message of the Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna by Krishna to overcome his state of agitation and help him perform his duty. Correct? So there are two aspects. To overcome the functioning of the mind in terms of happiness and distress, or rather to try and see that our emotions do not get too much affected or implicated with what the mind considers to be happiness or distress. That is one aspect. And the second aspect is to perform one's duty, which basically means to try and achieve a goal that is beneficial for us in our life. Basically, that is duty. In the very basic sense. Now, if you want to make duty sound very poetic and sound very exotic, then you can say duty means one must surrender everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sounds exotic now, isn't it? The statement can be put on t-shirts and on flyers. But when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, basically, that is very favorable for us. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu durashaya ye bahir arthamanina. Famous prayer from the Srimad Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj. He says that one's real self-interest is to try and connect oneself with Lord Vishnu. That is one's real self-interest. Durashaya, unfortunately, because we get distracted by so many other so-called forms of self-interest, we miss out on this opportunity. Very simple reflection by Prahlad Maharaj. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. So, one is to try and see that which is unfavorable for one and to give it up. And the other is to try and benefit from that which is favorable for one. So ultimately it comes to that, boils down to that. Pratikulasya varjanam anukulasya sankalpam. Accept that is that which is favorable and reject that is unfavorable. So if we understand this simple math, we understand this simple fact of life, then one is able to perform what we call as devotional service. And that is what Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna. He was telling him that the mind being agitated by these emotions, which have been brought forth by the mind itself, that is unfavorable for you. And secondly, if you can focus on your duty, then that is favorable for you. So first aspect, Krishna immediately instructs Arjuna as soon as he begins his instructions. The very first instructions is related to try and remove that which is unfavorable. And after some time, he brings in the concept of accept that which is favorable. हतो वा प्राप्स्यसे स्वर्गम जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महिम. It is Arjuna. Get up, Arjun. Yuddhasya. Fight. So first he tells him, Tam stitikshasva bharata. Be tolerant in life. How tolerant? He says, in happiness or distress, heat or cold, be tolerant. Basically, it means that if you get to do a lot of services at a temple, be tolerant. And if somebody starts speaking ill about you, be tolerant. Why? Because when you become too much overwhelmed by rendering services at a temple, it is the senses that has come in contact with those services. And therefore, there will be some tinges of attachment. There's bound to be. So, matra sparshastu kaunteya. Matra. This is a word from Sankhya philosophy. Basically, it makes a lot of sense in Sankhya philosophy. Matra means count. That which is countable. So, what is countable? How my eyes are engaged where, how my hands are engaged where, how my legs are engaged where. So, therefore, it is called as matra sparsha. Today, I did 4 hours of service. Basically, it means with your hands, legs, eyes. So, countable. That which is measurable. So, anything that is measurable with our senses either gives us pleasure or pain. So, that is bound to be there. Therefore, Krishna says, be tolerant. Basically, what it means is that as soon as it gives you pleasure or whenever you feel pain, within a few moments, you should be back to who you actually are. For example, let's suppose there was a day of very wonderful engagement at the temple, like serious engagement. What was it? FOJ, something like that. Serious engagement for all of us. Now, let's say there is a person ABC Das and there's a person XYZ Das or Dasi. So ABC immediately has to go home and sit on the laptop because there is deployment happening, like serious deployment. The entire team all over the world is like things are going back and forth. So serious services at a temple, like entire day of FOJ. Pack up from there. As soon as you hit home or even on the way back, you're into that meeting. Correct? And there is XYZ that has a day off next day. So you can spend a little more time at the festival site. What is the difference in the consciousness of the two? Most probably, ABC has completely forgotten about FOG and is totally into the deployment that is happening there, totally into that teamwork. Completely. How did ABC manage that? And on the other hand, there is XYZ. Like, oh, so much service. No, today was such an exciting day. It was such a wonderful day. And Krishna was so merciful. And we could render so many services. Why is XYZ still trying to relive it? Because XYZ has a time to do it. So this is what Krishna says, Matra Sparsha. When we work with our senses, the mind becomes affected. Therefore, we constantly need to do work. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Constantly, just be tolerant, work, tolerant, work, tolerant, work. Don't give your mind to sit idle and relive that moment. Because when you relive that moment, there are chances that you may want to hear how you and your team did a glorious work. Now, it could be in terms of let us hear some feedback. It could be in terms of, and whenever the feedback is really with lots of room for improvement, we are like, maybe we should do it next week. Today, let us just enjoy the festival. But when the feedback is solid praise, they're like, no, 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 we can continue on for another 3 hours. So, whenever the mind is idle and we're trying to relive that which was very good for us, which the mind thought was very good for us, there are always chances of falling into the trap of praise and negative feedback, liking it or not liking it. However, as soon as you're into deployment, you're like, oh yeah, so the program was good. Yeah, yeah. After, the next day, wonderful. So everybody gave feedback. Very nice. How was the feedback? Very good. Sorry, Prabhu. I'm still my deployment is going to continue. So and done. And as soon as you do that, 2 days down the line, FOJ is history. So what were you saved from? From that particular instance where you could have fallen into the problem of wanting praise or not liking negative feedback. So this is Krishna's first. All right. So that is practical understanding. Yeah. So matra sparshas kaunteya. And after that, Krishna says, Uttashtha, yuddhasva, stand up and fight. Arjuna is like, can I take a break? He says, stand up and fight till the war is done with. So the war is about trying to overcome the forces that create disruption in the lives of people. So basically, it means the war is about all those factors that create disruption in our life. How to overcome it? Fight, 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 fight. Constantly fight. Constantly go on doing your duty. Is that clear? So, is there any respite? At least in this lifetime, we should have realized that previous 100 lifetimes we were just wanting respite. So, this lifetime, let us try something different. We believe in the philosophy of rebirth. So, we must have taken so many births prior to this human births. What are the chances that in every birth we may have thoughts just like this? That, oh, it would be so nice if there is appreciation, if there is so. Did it work out in the previous lifetimes? The fact that we are here, most probably it didn't work out. So let us try something different this lifetime. And the reason why I'm trying to stress on this particular perspective outlook of life is that we believe in reincarnation. We believe in punarjanma. So those who believe in Punarjanma cannot accept the fact that, oh, only in this lifetime we have the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. The way our practice is going on, many of us believe that it will take us a few lifetimes, isn't it? So, considering that fact, we can safely assume that there have been previous lifetimes of similar practices. So, let us try something different now. Different is, why not dedicate this life to really being tolerant every moment, every single moment of our life, and really being committed to performing a duty every single moment of life? Like, no timeouts. Let us try it out. Why not? Let's see what happens. Yeah? Now that sounds stressful, isn't it? Therefore, Prabhupada would say, give one life to Krishna. Somebody asked him a question. What if after practicing Krishna consciousness very seriously, I like complete life, very serious practice of Krishna consciousness, and then I make it. I'm like, achieve that goal of having achieved freedom of cycle of birth and death. I'm paraphrasing it, all right? He asked a very simple question of Prabhupada. What if at the end of it we find out there is no Krishna? So basically, how I understood is that I did all the practices because right now I just believe there is Krishna. And by really doing it sincerely, I overcome the cycle of birth and death. And then I find out what if there is no Krishna. So Prabhupada said, it's perfectly all right because we did lead a very good life. Even if there is no Krishna, we did live a very good life. And then Prabhupada said, but what if there is Krishna? So either ways, no, head is also woven and tails also woven. Okay? So having said that, let me bring you to a very famous, well-known incident amongst the followers of the Krishna consciousness movement. 5,000 years ago, Devaki and Vasudeva are married, and Devaki's brother, who's Devaki's brother? Kamsa. So Kamsa has taken the reins of the chariot on which Devaki is being given farewell from her maternal home to go to her husband's house. So Kansa is like, he sits behind the steering wheel of the limousine that is going to take Devaki. That's a custom. So Devaki is the daughter of Devak. Kansa is the son of Ugrasen. Ugrasen and Devak are brothers. Alright? So Ugrasen and Devak are brothers. However, Devaki and Kansa are very close. So the Bhagavatam, everyone knows this incident, so you can relax and take a nap for some time. No problem. Because you already know the story, right? So this is from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ugrasena Sutta Kansa. Ugrasena Sutta, the son of Ugrasen. Kansa Swasuh Priya Chikirshaya. Swasuh, his sister. Swasuh means sister. Alright? Swasuh Priya Chikirshaya. Priya Chikirshaya, for whom he had lot of affection and who had lot of affection for him. Rashmin Hayanam Jagraha. Rashmin, the reins. Hoyanam, horses. Jagraha, he is personally taking the chariot forward. All right. So what is happening here? Something very interesting is happening here. Sometimes in life, unexpected things happen. Those are unexpected because we had different expectations. It is not that it is unexpected because we did not have any expectations. We had different expectations. Like our expectation was that today I'm going to take some rest. And suddenly people land up at our house with gifts and we say, oh, that is so unexpected. Gifts for me, wonderful. Why? Because we had different expectations. We wanted to sleep. So sometimes in life, unexpected things happen. Sometimes in life, people behave unexpectedly with us. Sometimes, as a husband and wife, you're like, I've known you we have been married for so many years and still I feel as if I don't know you. Unexpected. I don't know why people say like that. It's as if because you stayed with someone for so many years, you're supposed to know them completely. Where does that come from? Absolutely no idea. It's as if people do not have individuality at all. Just a fact. Just try and, sometimes you yourself are completely unaware of how you behave unexpectedly. Why did I do that? Why did I get so angry? And then you're ready to accept that, yeah, maybe I still have some ways to go. But when it comes to your partner, I've known you for so long, but somehow I feel I don't know you. So we are ready to accept our individuality, but when someone else expresses their individuality, we are like, my God, what is the use of living with you when you express your individuality? It's amazing, isn't it? This is called attachment. Because you become attached, you feel that the other person is just an extension of yourself. Therefore, you feel that you know her or him just as well you know your hands and your legs. This is the illusion. The illusion is that they are not inanimate extensions of yourselves, they are individual beings with individual personalities. So a person never becomes surprised by the fact that they spring surprises. That is the day you can understand that you're being very tolerant in life. Really. Because when you're newly married, any surprise is like, wow, this makes you fall more in love with you. And 20 years later on in marriage, if there's any surprise, you're like, I feel I don't know you even after 20 years. So sometimes people behave unexpectedly in life. Now, for somebody who's not in knowledge, who does not know how the material world functions, they feel that this is very abrupt. Unexpected happenings in life is very abrupt. It kind of spoils their plans. It kind of makes them reset and their understanding of themselves and the world around you. Like, oh, I have to add this new data to my understanding. So many times people feel that somebody has changed. They feel that somebody has changed. It's like, after 20 years, same example, I don't even know you. We feel that, oh my God, this person has changed from what they were like for 20 years. But when you are in knowledge, when you have an understanding of how the material world works, you know that change is a constant manifestation of material world. Material constantly changes. Agama apayino anitya. Alright? Jatasya dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. That which comes will go. That which has gone will come. That which is born will die, and that which is dead will be reborn. All right? So, that which is dead, what is dead? The body is dead. The body in the form of elements is dead. Now, these elements will be reborn. All right? They'll again be reborn. Then the soul takes on another life in the womb of the mother. It will be reborn. All right? So, when one is in knowledge, one understands that people never change. It's very rarely they change. What changes is our perspective of them or our perspective of the situation. Therefore, people, when you're in knowledge, you don't consider people to be good or bad. It's like, oh, till today, I thought they were really very, very supportive of me, but now I came to know that they harbor so many ill feelings about me. Right? Or sometimes I was always thinking that you are having ill feelings about me, but today I realized I was mistaken. Correct? So, our perspective has changed. They haven't changed. Our perspective changes. Okay? So, should we blame them? Or should we start reassessing how we make observations? Should we consider them to be the problems of whatever happens in our life? Or should we try to see how, with the proper perspective, we can avoid problems in our life? That takes a lot of work, isn't it? It's easier just to say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Why should we do so much of mental homework? So much philosophical gymnastics. Why should we try to understand how to see everything that happens in our life? Anytime anything happens, I simply take my bead bag and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And how has that worked for you? How has it really worked out? So, when we have the facility to analyze situations, it is good to analyze how to have perspectives that are healthy and helpful for us. Correct? Now in India, they came up with this some time back. Maybe here also we use it. When we cannot have ACs working, then at least we try to bring in coolers. So if it is too hot, you have the cooler functioning. And people are like, oh my god, this cooler has saved my life. The cooler is like Krishna personally has come in the form of the cooler. And then it is really winter, like harsh winter, cold, outside, inside. And by mistake, your child turns on the cooler. You're like, oh, why don't you take care of the child? Like, this cooler is really freezing my bones. So that day the cooler becomes biggest enemy that we have. So has the cooler changed? Has the cooler's functioning changed? Has its personality changed? Our perspective has changed. Correct? So here, Swasuha Priya Chikarshaya, Kansa is like with tears in his eyes. There are descriptions that Kansa was so much overwhelmed with emotion that he could not properly ride the chariot. He had so many tears that my dear sister is leaving. And that is why he had taken up that position. And Devaki was also, my brother loves me so much. Really. And according to some explanations, if you understand traditional customs, then you'll understand this particular perspective. Kansa had also given up his footwear. He was barefoot on the chariot, which basically means that he was not only expressing his love, but a lot of respect. Like Devaki is going to a house that is very respectable. I'm not sure if you know this, but if you can remember this, if you've ever experienced it, but I have experienced it growing up in India. If you have a very, very respectable person with you and you're showing them the way to, the way out, and if you're walking them a distance, then you don't wear the footwear, you don't wear your chappals, you don't wear your sandals. Have you ever experienced that? Hmm? Now, typically, when those were the olden days, when son-in-laws were considered to be the representative of Lord Narayan for the wife's family. Those were the days because they knew that after she goes there, we are not going to get much news. So at least pamper him now so that he can keep her happy. We try to keep her happy in her house. So if you pamper him enough, that was the understanding basically. It was give and take. So those customs were helpful. Today we may say, oh, that was simply they went overboard with their emotions. No, 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 no. They were very, very intelligent people. There were no phones in those days. And the marriage did not take place in the same village. It would take place in another village. The girl had to be married into another village. To go to another village sometimes would take an entire day. So it wasn't easy keeping track. I know of so many elderly ladies who, having been married, they never went back to their father's house. They just started living in their husband's house. I know of some ladies like that, elderly ladies now, they are no more. When I was young, I used to ask them that, where is your brother? Oh, the last time I saw him was when I got married. Yeah, it would happen like that because it wasn't easy to travel. It wasn't very easy to travel, especially if you get married across the river. It wasn't very easy to travel. Especially if you have to travel with people would there would be robbers and attackers on the way too. It was quite dangerous to travel. So son-in-law is like, we are your servants, your Lord Narayan. We are Das Das Anudas. So when they would send off the son-in-law, the girl's family would not wear footwear. Those are the customs. Now, this is 5,000 years ago. So please understand what was Kansa's attitude at this point of time. Please, if you don't understand it, you'll never be able to relate. You may just say that Kansa took the reins, but actually, he was just doing it for pride, and that was one of the reasons. But the other reason was on the customs, and it seems that he had affection for Devaki, his sister. And Devaki also had tears in her eyes. seeing her brother do that. I mean, my brother personally. And Kansa would constantly, whenever possible, would be looking at her like, I wish I could keep you with me. Why do I have to send you away? That was the kind of emotion. Swasu Priya Chikirshaya. We have to really, sometimes, it's like olden times. You know, today, if you do not tell somebody in the morning or 3 times a day, 4 times a day, I really love you. I really love you. Maybe 2 days down the line, they need some special counseling. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. Because they need that kind of reassurance. There is so much of I love you going around on WhatsApp, no? That they also need that. That, okay, you told the dog I love you, right? You told your mother I love you. Then you told your son or daughter I love you. So I also need that. And hence I'm trying to, although it sounds very, maybe humorous, maybe a little negative, but it makes sense in today's times because there's so much of people sending emotions on social media. Like, boss, thank you very much. You open a door for someone opens a door for you, thank you very much. You go to the mall, thank you very much. Obviously, the husband or the wife expect that from you too. So if they give you a glass of water, thank you very much. If they have cooked food for you, thank you very much. If you have got groceries for them, thank you very much. It is expected because that is what you're doing for others, isn't it? Do we ever feel that every time you go to the grocery store, thank you very much, and one day, like, you don't tell that person, and the person says, hey, you did not thank me, and you're like, hey, every day I tell you. What is there in thank you very much? You don't, do you do that? At the mall, do you do that? No, you always say it's become your habit. Therefore, with partners also, they feel that when you are offering so much in abundance, thank yous, a few should also come this way. Make sense? So there were days I asked an elderly couple when I was little young, do you all never say I love you? So the lady said, no, because it is what is said in an unsaid manner. I said, well, how do you know that it has been said? That whenever I give something, just the eyes, they say that. Like, just that. Right? That's I love you. So what I'm saying is, try to go back 5,000 years ago. There was no social media. There was not so much of I love yous going around. So therefore, when Shukdev Goswami says, Swasuh Priyachikarshaya, try to see the emotions that is really, being reciprocated between Devaki and Kansa. Serious. It's like real solid affection between two siblings. Yeah. Then, as Kansa is going ahead, Shukdev Goswami says that there were so many other chariots of gold and laden with so many presents that were also being taken along, for Devaki as gifts, all of that. Then Shukdev Goswami says, Pathi grahinam kansam abhasya sharirabhak asyastvam ashtamo garbho hantayam vahase buddha. Pathi pragrahinam kansam. Pragraham means reins. Pathi means on the way. So as Kansa was going ahead, holding the reins of the chariot, Abhashya, there was a voice. There was a voice, a Sharira Vaka, spoken by someone who was not embodied. So there was a Akashvani. Okay? What did the Akashvani declare? What did that voice in the sky say? Asyaha tvam ashtamo garbha. Asyaha, this girl, your sister, tvam, for you, is going to produce an eighth child, Hantayam, who will kill you. All right? Vahase abudha. Vahase means you're still carrying a load. You're carrying that load that is going to kill you. Therefore, you are unintelligent. This makes sense? All right? You're carrying a load that will kill you. This is what the words are indicating. Hence, if this were in Telugu, it would have made more sense. If it were in Prakrit Bhasha, it would have made more sense. Unfortunately, we do not have this in Prakrit Bhasha. So we have to translate it. If you don't translate it, this will be a documentary for you and not a Rajnikant movie. So we need translation. Otherwise, it will be a documentary. Oh yeah, Kansa, he was there, and then the voice came, and Kansa took out his sword and was ready to kill Devaki. And everyone is unmoved. There is no involvement with the story at all. But now comes in Rajnikant. He does something like that. Everyone is involved. So who's Rajnikant's? What is the Rajnikant version? Shukadev Goswami. He is the script writer. He is bringing in those emotions. Hantaya. Hantaya. Yes? Hantaya. Yes, Hantaya. Alright? Hantayam vahase abudha. Vahase. You know vahase? Okay, I'll tell you what is vahase. Alright? You have to listen. Okay? Vahase. Vahase means vaham. Vahamyaham. Remember a verse where Krishna says, Vahamyaham, I carry. So vahase. Oh stupid fellow. You are carrying that load. Who's going to create the very cause of your death? What happened to Kansa? Sword out, left hand, caught hold of Devaki's hair, right hand ready to chop off her neck. Everyone shocked. Vasudev is a quick thinker, jumped in. Vasudev is like your code cracker, who immediately says, yeah, I know what is the solution. So he did that. So there was an issue. Midnight. So Vasudev is the manager. Call went to him. Sir, problem. So Vasudev immediately jumps in. And we know what happens, alright? We are just going to discuss this. Devaki's perception changed now. Was Kansa a different person before and a different person after? He was the same person. But previously, Devaki was thinking that he is my dearmost brother. Just look at him. He's so very emotional about me going away. And now Devaki is looking at, oh my God, even Yamaraj does not look so ferocious. And this is what the Bhagavatam is revealing here. If this can happen in the life of Devaki, then what about us? That is why these stories are there. Devaki's Ashtam Putra is going to be Krishna. And Krishna is saying, hey, people in Prosper, Texas, I'm telling you something that happened in my family. And all of you know that my family, you all worship as, oh, Krishna's family is special. Those are Krishna's dearmost servants, very close to Krishna. That is what all of you think. So he's saying, this is happening to them. So if you think they are very close and you're not so close, what will happen to you? What will happen to you? So Krishna is saying, I am just giving you a heads up. And if you need a heads up every day, open these two verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam every day and read so that you have a heads up in life. People are the same, perspective changes, our perspective changes. If we want to be tolerant in life, we need to adopt a perspective that is universal. We need to adopt a perspective that is universal. If something is happening that is unfavorable to us, we need to find a perspective that still makes us go on in life. And if something is happening in our life that is favorable for us, we need to have a perspective that still makes us go ahead in life and not stop there to enjoy that. Is that helpful? Yeah? All right. Now, there is a poem by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Interesting poem. विद्यार विलासे काटाइनु काल परम साहसे आमी তোমার চরণ না ভজিনু কভু এখনো শরণ বেঙ্গলি এখনো শরণ তুমি বিদ্যার বিলাসে কাটাইনু কাল পরম সাহসে আমি. So, in context of what we are discussing, what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur says? With great enthusiasm, I spent my time in the pleasures of mundane learning and never worshipped your lotus feet, O Lord. Now you are my only shelter. So, what is mundane learning? Mundane learning is that which gives you pleasure and pain. Now, just because we have started practicing devotional service doesn't mean that what we learn has stopped giving us pleasure and pain. If it is giving us pleasure and pain, then in the guise of, in the form of, who came in the form of a cowherd boy to Vrindavan? Who was it? Pralambasur. Cowherd boy. Correct? Who came in the form of a calf? Vatsasur. Who came in the form of a bull? Arishtasur. Bull is worshipable. Calf is worshipable. A gopa is worshipable. Who comes in those forms? Asuras. So if we are having pleasure and pain, then the learning that we have while we are practicing devotional service could be in the form of devotion. However, its manifestation is in the form of mundane learning because it is giving us pleasure and pain. And because that pleasure and pain affects us, it also affects our worship of Krishna. So he says, with great enthusiasm, I spent my time. Great enthusiasm. I do my Bhakti Shastri, I read Bhagavad Gita, and with all that learning, whenever I apply it in my practices, I get affected by pleasure and pain. What does that mean? It means that in the form of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, in the form of the knowledge of devotional practices, it is mundane learning that I am accepting. Therefore, if we are not careful, then that which is spiritual can be treated as material. And if we are very careful, then that which is material can be spiritualized. Correct? True or false? If we are very careful, then every grain that we cook can be spiritualized. And if you are not careful, then that which is prasad can also cause diabetes and problems. Is that true or not? So my statement has been justified. If you are not careful, then that which is spiritual can actually be affecting us as material energy. And if you are very careful, then that which is material can be spiritualized. And that is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur here is saying. So when we hear this bhajan, in our first year of Krishna consciousness, we think mundane learning means engineering or biology or law. But when we have spent 3 or 4 years in Krishna consciousness, then mundane learning is having studied the Bhagavad Gita, we know the verses, selected verses, however, still we are being affected by pleasure and pain in our life. It's like Matra Sparshas to Konteya Shitoshna Shukha Dukkhada Agama Paino Nitya Tam Titikshas Bharte. What did we recite right now? What did you recite? So what was the benefit of that recitation? Even a parrot does that. Chant. The parrot goes, Matras Parshastu Konteya Shitoshna Shukha Dukkhada. Chant. Agama Paino Nitya Tanti Shikshasya Bharata. Ka after that. So what is mundane learning? If chanting verses of spiritual learning, then the parrot should also Bhaktisiddhanta says, no? He gives a story. A parrot was taught to chant Krishna, Krishna. And then a cat pounces on the parrot. And the parrot goes, ka. So, Vidyara Vilase Katainu Kala. I've spent so much time learning. However, it still gives me pleasure and pain. Tomaro chorana na bhajinu kobhu akhono shorana tumi. And in this way, although I'm performing acts of devotional service, my mind is not feeling connected to you. So na bhajinu. So my hands are worshipping you. My mind is like, did they go to school? Today for the program, what am I going to cook? My mind. So my hands are worshipping, my mind is not worshipping. That is what, after 4 years in Krishna consciousness, you understand from this bhajan. Na bhajinu kabhu akhono sharana tum. And therefore, my Lord, now I realize that Only you are the real shelter. Not what I practice as service unto you. That is not my shelter. Only you are the real shelter. Therefore, when my hands are offering services unto you, my mind should also take shelter in you. Because only you are the real shelter. Not these acts that I'm doing. That is not the real shelter. That is that can facilitate me having real shelter, but that is actually not the real shelter. All right. So that is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here. There's much more to the poem. However, let us try and conclude. We discussed about Krishna saying that tolerate because there are going to be situations where things are going to happen that will be unfavorable for you. So tolerate. And then he says, perform your duty because that is favorable for you. Now, our perspectives in life are so variegated that although situations remain the same, we have different emotions in those situations. We have different emotions in those situations. Just as Devaki did. All right? So now, Kansa put them into prison. He was, one by one, all the children were being killed by him. Finally, the eighth child appears. Finally, the eighth child appears. Everyone is like, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And whenever the drama happens, Hari Bol, Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki jai, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Very nice. Everything done. It was dark. How dark was it? Shukdev Goswami says, the sky was overcast with thick clouds. The moon was completely blocked out. The stars were completely blocked out. Everyone was asleep. And the cell, the prison cell, was very dark. And Krishna appeared brilliant, shining bright. Now the Bhagavatam describes that he appeared as a four-handed form. He had a nice chat with Devaki and Vasudev. Hey Devaki, hey Vasudev. First Vasudev saw him. Oh my God, God has appeared. Now he said, oh my G, God has appeared. And he started offering prayers. Then Devaki started offering prayers. After that, Devaki became concerned about Krishna. Oh my dear Lord, we are in the prison house. You're in the prison house. Kansa, this is Kansa's prison house. And he has so much of powers. He'll come here and he'll also kill you. So please protect yourself. All of that, Devaki does. So Krishna, 400 form, he reassures them. He says, this is not your first birth. Many years ago, you all prayed for me to be your son. So because of certain equations then, I am appearing for the third time as your son. Previously, I appeared as a son in two different ages. Now I'm appearing for the third time as a son. Done. We know this story, right? Therefore, fast forward. See, Rajnikant does fast forward. Isn't it? Otherwise, so fast forward. I'm not Rajnikant, but and then Krishna keeps quiet, and then he changes himself into two-handed baby form. So dark cell, everything dark. They are shackled. Krishna becomes a baby. Till that time, he has not done anything. Anything in the sense of Everything is as it is, except that now he has become a baby. Now Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami says, Tatascha Shauri Bhagavat Prachodita Sutam Samadaya Sasutika Grihat. Bhagavatam says, Tatascha Shaurir Bhagavat Prachodita. Understanding the intention of the Lord. Or Prabhupada translates it as understanding the instructions of the Lord. Shaurir. Shaurir is another name for, because Vasudev's another name is Shauri. He also has, when he fills up his form for any legal papers, so any other names, so he writes Shauri, like that. So Shauri, here that word is being used. Tatashta Shauri. Now we are not going to go into why Shauri and all that. For that you can hear other kathas. What we are going to discuss is Bhagavat Prachodita. Understanding the instructions of Krishna. Sutam Samadaya Sa Shutika Grihat. Shutika Grihat means the delivery room. Delivery room? That is a prison cell. There's only one room. It is very interesting. The word Shutika Grihat. Sutika Grihat means delivery room where a child is born. Samadaya, Sutam, he takes up his child and carries the child. Shukdev Goswami very intelligently here has described in fast forward something interesting. And for that, we need to translate. So here is a Telugu translation in English. Alright? Krishna becomes a small child and he says, please take me, carry me on your head. Carry you on my head. What about this? I mean, you just become a small child from a 400 person, become a 200 person. We still have shackles in our hands. No. You're telling me, carry me. And this is a brilliant. This we have to try and understand how Shukdev Goswami is described as. Samadaya sa. Samadaya means he carries his son. So question is asked, when did his shackles open up? To carry him, when does the shackles open up? And if this is the delivery room, where is he carrying him? So when did the shackles open up? And therein they say, the commentary is, the moment you decide to carry Krishna in your life, all shackles open up. Even in the darkest moments of your life, when the darkness completely binds you, if you carry Krishna on your head, it basically means, Krishna, this is all I need to do. There's nothing else I need to do. When you carry something on your head, basically, that is all you can do. Oh yeah, sometimes you carry this and that. But here, this has to be really balanced. So Samadaya, he was carrying Krishna, means he was liberated. And therefore, we have tried to make it very, very simplistic by saying immediately the doors opened up, immediately shackles fell down. We miss on the point that carrying Krishna, Samadaya. Before that, the shackles were not opened up. The gates were not opened. Only when he lifted up Krishna, this is the real Rajnikant movement. So who is the real Rajnikant? Rajnikant is imitating Krishna. When he shoots an arrow and it hits lock somewhere to open it up. This is Krishna doing it. The gates of the prison cell open. Everyone is already asleep. He's carrying Krishna. But Sutik Grihat, what does that mean? It means birth of Krishna. Krishna is such a compassionate form of God. There's no other form of God as compassionate. Even Narsinghadev is not as compassionate. Because when Narsinghadev appeared, it was dusk. It was not midnight and it was not dark midnight. Krishna appeared in a darkness when Vasudeva and Devaki had no hope. Vasudev could not practically see his own hand in front of him. Basically, it means that knowledge was not so easily available because knowledge is what gives you hope. When you know that somebody is going to come and save you, you're hopeful. But if you don't have knowledge of that, you become hopeless. Even if they're coming to save you, in hopelessness, you give up your life. Therefore, when they come to help you, they first tell you, we are coming, we are coming. Stay put. And again they tell you, just 4 more inches, just 3 more inches, because they want to give you hope. Darkness. So in dense darkness, when Krishna appears, Sutik Grahat, it means just by his appearance, he makes us transcend the darkness just by his appearance. That is Krishna's compassion. We are not able to approach Krishna because we are shackled, but he approaches us. Devaki and Vasudeva are shackled. What can they do? Still, we have to appreciate Devaki and Vasudeva. When people become shackled because of problems in their life, because of insecurities in their life, the first thing they give up is bhajan. Vasudeva and Devaki did bhajan. They're still remembering Krishna. Sutik Grahat. And now, Shukdev Goswami says something interesting. Ta Krishna Vahe Vasudeva Agate Swayam Vyavaryant Yatha Tamurave. Beautiful poetry. Beautiful poetry. I'm not sure if you've really heard this part of the Bhagavatam ever. Yatha Tamo Rave. Ravi is sun, Tamo is darkness. He says, Ta Krishna Vahe Vasudeva Agate. Please pay attention to this word that I'm going to again bring your attention to. Ta, thus, or carrying, taha. Krishna Vahe. What is the word? Vahe. What did we say previously when we were discussing this word? Vahamya, Vahase, carry. Vasudeva is also carrying Krishna. The same Krishna who in the unborn form with Devaki was being carried by Kansa. But in that situation, when the word Vahe is used, Vahase is used, Kansa is called as Amudha. And here, when the word Vahe is used, it says Swayam Vyavarayanta. All the gates opened up by themselves for Vasudeva. So if we want to carry the burden, let us carry the burden of love for Krishna rather than the burden of the beast. Because anyways, we have to carry something. Yes? So if we do our duty, Previously, perspectives, being tolerant is very helpful. And now, if you understand, consider the opportunity. Oh, my sister's son, he's going to kill me. I'm so fortunate. I mean, he's not going to kill me immediately. I can spend some time with him. But Kansa could not accept that fact. So he tried to kill Devaki instead. And when Krishna appeared to Vasudeva, Vasudeva knew that every son he has to hand over to Kansa. When Krishna told him, please take me across the Yamuna to Gokul, he's like, yes. What will happen when you come back? Who knows? Who knows? Knowing Kansa, he's going to accuse Vasudeva. There's every chance that this time Vasudeva will not be able to get out of this. Every chance. Krishna Vahe. And hence for Vasudeva, Swam Vyavarayanta. The path opened up for him. Forever. Yes? So, it's very important that we have the right perspective in life. Tomara charana bina kichu dhana sansare na acheyar. Oh dear Lord, there is no treasure worth seeking in this world other than your lotus feet. Nice. I mean, hearing about it sounds very nice, no? Bhakti vinoda joda vidya chhadi tu aap de karo sar. Bhaktivinoda says that I give up Jada Vidya. I give up this attachment to mundane learning. Otherwise, oh yeah, I have to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Mataji, Prabhuji, you said that even last year, I know. But this is really the goal of life. If you want to achieve that, then give up Jada Vidya, no? So, Bhakti Vinoda Joda Vidya Chhadi Tua Pade Koresar. It basically means next time when we are reading the verses or reciting the verses, let us put our heart and our minds into it. And if something does happen and we need to take care of it, try to be tolerant. Try to be very tolerant. If you need to raise your voice, but simply raise your voice. Don't raise your emotions. Find a way to do that. Hey! After saying, Tam titikshassu bharata, hey! All right, done. Whatever you wanted to prevent, that has been prevented. Go back. Go back to what you were doing. Don't start giving a lecture. You don't understand. Don't you see I'm reading here, my attention goes there. No, don't get into all of that. That is Jada Vidya. Why? Because it is connected to pleasure and pain. Whatever was required to be done in the material world, you did. Task done. Focus back. That is the essence as I can understand it from this poem. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we discussed about tolerance also, right? Like in starting of the topic.
Yes.
Tolerance. Like we have to tolerate the situations But how do we differentiate between self-respect and tolerance?
How do we differentiate between self-respect and tolerance? So, uh, are you trying to suggest that self-respect and tolerance have some connection? That are somehow the other related?
No, they're always like everyone will confuse. Hey, something has happened. Like, okay, we need to, even the self-respect also we need to have it. At the same time, we need to be tolerated. Also, if somebody is scolding us, like, okay, we need to be tolerated.
Okay.
But sometimes the people will say, hey, you need to have a self-respect too. You should not keep quiet.
So you're saying that there are instances in people's lives where it appears that they are tolerant at the cost of their self-respect.
That's what I'm trying to understand, that how we differentiate between these
Therefore,
two
yeah. So
things.
you're asking how to differentiate between the two, and hence I'm asking that: are you suggesting that there is some connection between self-respect and tolerance?
Question will be, if I'm not wrong, Prabhuji, how differentiate between tolerance and self-respect? It is not the real differentiation. How we should take tolerance? How we can work balance between both?
Therefore, I'm asking you that are they related to each other that you need to balance? So, is the presence of self-respect the absence of tolerance or the presence of tolerance?
What is the percentage we have to give
What
priority to the
what I'm
tolerance
asking,
and where we have
try and
to?
understand. When I say heat and cold, so the presence or absence of one affects the other. There's a relationship between the two. But if I say heat and common sense, is there some relationship between the two? Heat and self-respect, is there a relationship between the two? So, is there a relationship between self-respect and tolerance? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, see, Prabhuji, if somebody is, let's say,
I'm not saying that it is not there. I'm asking you that are you suggesting that there is a relationship? And if you're suggesting there is a relationship, then I would like to know what is the relationship so that I can address it.
yeah, I think, to add more, let's say, somebody knowingly, they're insulting us, let's for example.
Okay.
We cannot assume, okay, we have to, we cannot assume, okay, I have to be more tolerant and keep quiet, right? Like, how we can defend that? Or just we keep quiet?
So in this situation, you're saying that tolerance and self-respect are connected. How?
So somebody is really, trying to, abuse or insulting or something. So then,
Up to what action I should go?
So-
Where
so-
should I start looking for self-respect and we should focus on something like that. It's not really like I'm Radha Krishna, but as a humility between the humility and
All right,
tolerance.
all right, all right. I'm not even now. There's a third topic coming. So humility now. The two. So are we saying that in this instance, self-respect and tolerance have a relationship? Where you said that somebody is insulting you,
yeah,
they have a relationship. Are we saying that?
yeah.
So to insult someone or not insult someone, is there some, let us say, uh, way to address it? Who can insult, where they can be insulted or not insulted, and what are the consequences of that? Are there some protocols and systems in this world or no?
No system.
At workplace, there is no system like that. Anyone can insult you.
No, the
Workplace we have
workplace
system.
we have
Okay.
something.
At workplace, you have.
Yeah.
Now, amongst the relationships like marriage, friends, they have families, you have families, so there are no protocols between the two.
No protocols.
So, in which situation there are no protocols now?
No, the same
No,
protocol.
even amongst wives and husband, they are not individual units. No,
Yes, Prabhuji. That's the right question. That's right question.
they are not individual units. If the wife gets insulted and if there are people connected to the wife, now let me ask you very clearly, husbands and wives. Let us say husbands insult wives. Do you think the wife's family is not going to get involved if the wife tells them?
when we go and tell only they'll know, right, Prabhuji. We don't
So
tell,
there is
right?
certain protocols, no? there is a system which can address it.
They don't tell because of their mistake only. That's the
No. Please try and understand. Please try and understand what I'm trying to address here. I'm saying that there are systems set into place. People become very, very insecure if they feel a system is not working. Why are these incidents not being addressed by that system or protocol? Why is it coming to connecting it with self-respect? There are already protocols. There are already protocols set.
The problem is somebody is not following protocol. Then that's what
No. I'm not saying that somebody is not following protocol. See, even the system gets overloaded with too many incidents. If there's too much of crime happening, what can the law do? Because the volume is too much. So if one is habituated to insulting one another, then the system also says, hey, overload. All right? If it is a one-off incident, if it is an incident that happens once a week or once a month, there are systems in place. So why should that be connected to self-respect? Does it make sense? Now, if I do not access the system, it is going to create complications. If I say, hey, no problem, you return my things and I will not lodge a complaint, there can be complications because the other person may become more cunning. So, at least a warning, if not a formal complaint, at least a warning in some sense. That is why systems are there, that is why protocols are there, right? Is that helpful? The more we try to find out shortcuts, the more complicated life becomes. The more we work to see that systems and protocols can be maintained, the more life becomes simpler. It's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. But is there a better way? Temporary solutions may not really solve the problem. Time tested protocols are helpful. Yes? So, again, I'm asking in this scenario, what is the connection between the two? All right. Self respect is a healthy quality and favorable for existence. Insulting or insult is an unhealthy situation and unfavorable. So, that which is favorable, accept. That which is unfavorable, reject. Very simple. So, if your self respect is being, you feel that it is being exploited and therefore the situation is not favorable for you, try to make the situation favorable for yourself. And if the insult is not being addressed, and because it is unfavorable for you, try to address that situation. That is how I can understand it. But if we try to connect the two to each other, it becomes very hazy. Then we do not really, we cannot see that actually they are disconnected from each other in one sense. We are forcibly trying to connect the two. Is that helpful? Another question?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. So we discussed one more thing is perceptions
Yes.
will change like over the time. Persons will be remain the same, but the perceptions according
No,
to
I did not say that. I said that if we are, if we have
unexpected.
clarity of how material world works, then we realize that actually we have to address our perceptions and not blame how something has changed.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, that is what I said
Yeah.
in my presentation, isn't it? And if we do not understand how the material work works, then we think that the opposite party is the cause of the happiness or distress in my life. Because if you know how material world works, we know that it is constantly changing. Yes. So what is changing is our perspective of that which is constantly happening. That a person understands in knowledge. Therefore, a person somehow or the other tries to achieve the state of having a universal perspective or an unchangeable perspective. That if happiness comes, this is by Krishna's grace. If miseries comes, then by Krishna's grace, I'll be able to overcome it. So one goes ahead.
But theoretically, like in a practical sense, theoretically, it's like when we hear this, yes, it's like, oh, it's good, good. But when practically happens, like we are not able to act according what needs to be done. We act in a completely different way.
Correct.
So the whatever the situations. So how to avoid that? Saying that okay, like when theoretically when we hear this and applying in a practically exactly the same, how we should do it.
Krishna is trying to give an example from his own family. What are the consequences of thinking that people change? If Devaki would have seen Kansa and said, all right, he's doing his duty, let me just focus on what is going to be my duty from here onwards, then she would not have been so much in pain if when she sees Kansa trying to attack her. Whether Devaki is there or not, we are not sure, but through the renditions in Bhagavatam, we see that there are two different phases of Kansa. So who's seeing that phase? Either Shukdev Goswami is saying it, or maybe he's portraying that Devaki is seeing it. Okay? This is called as Jada Vidya. That is where we were hearing from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's poem. That Vidyara Vilasa. Vilas, you know what is Vilas? Being very, very comfortable and happy in that situation. So being very comfortable with Jada Vidya. And what is Jada Vidya? That which gives you pain and pleasure. That is Jada Vidya. So it can come in the form of, hence we gave the examples. That it can come in very, very benign forms. Jada Vidya can manifest in very, very benign forms. If it leaves us with a taste of pleasure and pain, because pleasure and pain wastes our time, distracts us. So if it leaves us with that taste, then we should clearly understand that we are thinking that others are the cause of our happiness and distress. That is what Jada Vidya does. So we have to reset our perspective. It is my perspective that this is happiness or this is pain. That's my perspective. And where did that perspective come from? From these attachments. Now this is my brother. No, he is Yamaraj. My death. Well, that attachment. So he says, Akhono Sharana Tumi, like Vasudev, shackled up. But Krishna says, take me across. He immediately lifts of Krishna. Then he sees the shackles are gone. Then he moves towards the doors. He sees the doors are opening up. It's not that the doors already opened up and Vasudeva is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. No. How Shukdev Goswami is explaining is that. He's explaining that as he moves with Krishna, carrying Krishna, things are opening up for him. And similarly, when he returns back without Krishna, everything closes up behind him. And he'll come back from Gokul. The gates will all get locked up, shackles will come on. So these are very, very educational for all of us. They're beautiful pastimes also, but quite educational. So in practical terms, you're saying in practical life, yeah, in practical life, we consider Jara to be more important. What we call as, practical knowledge is also helpful. But Krishna is speaking about how practically we can use everything to serve him, no? Prasad, practical application, tongue, practical application, hands and legs, eyes, practical application. He is not asking us to try and achieve some miraculous powers. He's never asking us to do that. So if this is not practical, then what else is practical? So Jada Vidya doesn't allow us to see that this is very practical. Jada Vidya makes us feel that we need some miraculous powers. That is the nature of Jada Vidya. Jada Vidya always makes you hanker for that which is maybe tomorrow I'll get more, something better. Mundane learning, material knowledge, always hanker for that. Is that all right?
Thank you for the wonderful insight. I was thinking from the Kansa's perspective, why he changed. Seemingly it's like change, but if we see, just for example, like if you see, like let's say I have a car or something which I love for it, but I have so much love and I care for it and it's like very nice because it's giving me pleasure. But what if I know that okay in future this car I'll have an accident with this car then I really at that time I will sort of like change the perspective. Like it's something like the sister like because the sister is have her own family members like have so much love because his thinking is her own his own. But the same thing is trying to like kill later then he has some completely reversed. So the perspective, as you said, like we need to have a proper perspective because there is like it's his own like because everything is connected to him. That's why like whatever pleases him is a great thing, and whatever doesn't please is not really like is an enemy. In the other way, you said that we have to change our perspective because how to serve Krishna, how to really connect with Krishna, like everything, how do we do for Krishna, that will actually help us put in right perspective. As you said, like even Kansa is coming to kill Devaki. If she's in a right perspective, then she can see how it's connected to Krishna. And it's very difficult, but still, that perspective we need to properly have. So what I was thinking is, how do we develop that perspective? Like initially, you said we need to have tolerance. So is that where we start and try to build on that one?
Well, since we are trying to take lessons from this incident, we are not saying that Devaki is actually feeling that.
Yeah.
We're trying to see how it is being presented and what are the lessons we can take. So we can see that although Devaki is a little helpless, Vasudev jumps in. So Devaki signifies devotional service. She is bhakti because Krishna is going to be born from her. And Vasudev is that which constantly exists everywhere. Vasati sarvatra. Therefore, Krishna is also called as Vasudev. So what is that which exists everywhere? Spiritual intelligence. So spiritual intelligence jumps in and overcomes Kansa, that is trying to overshadow devotion. So we did not cover that aspect. We did not. I just wanted to. It's too big a topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are so many aspects to it.
That's true.
So Vasudev is immediately. Hence I said it's so sharp, isn't it? It's so quick. That is spiritual intelligence. He knows Krishna. I have to protect. I have to protect devotion. What does spiritual intelligence do? I have to protect devotion. Okay, today, if I save devotion, tomorrow I'll see what else to do. Typically, how do we address devotion? Oh, today I could not do devotion properly. Tomorrow I'm going to do better. But spiritual intelligence is today I protect devotion. Tomorrow I'll see what can be done. Like tomorrow onwards I'll chant nicely. Whereas spiritual intelligence, today I'll chant nicely. Tomorrow we'll see what is to be done. That is spiritual intelligence. So spiritual intelligence starts off right where devotion begins. Material intelligence is that which takes on the form of spiritual and convinces that tomorrow onwards you can do better. And then that tomorrow happens every single day. So spiritual intelligence immediately jumps in. As soon as spiritual intelligence sees that devotion is a little shaky here, jumps in. Focus, chant, hear. And you're like, hey, I just chanted 2 beats on my first mala. And you're jumping in. That is spiritual intelligence. And what is material? After 16 rounds, it comes. Tomorrow. Today, somehow or the other. Maybe I'll chant 1 round sincerely, extra round. Tomorrow, definitely, I'm going to do it very properly. Is that all right? Okay.
And another thing, just to add, like as I said, how like if we carry Krishna, everything will be opened up. So similarly, if you want to really do some service, which is very difficult, if we really surrender with the mood, then things will happen. Or at least positive will happen. It may not actually happen, but it may happen. Like that's how
We have to be very careful in that situation, because what we are taking is we are taking on the onus of having completely understood what is complete surrender. When we make a statement like that, na? So what we have done is we have taken up the responsibility of having completely understood what is real surrender. So we have to be a little careful there. Hence, let us do bhajana kriya, not bhav bhakti. Let us do bhajana kriya, sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is according to what has been prescribed. We try to apply that and bring out surrender. But spontaneous is bhav bhakti.
should not imitate.
No, not about imitation. We have to be very careful, because now we are taking up the responsibility of having understood, which basically means that we have partly convinced ourselves that now we are completely surrendered, at least for this task.
Yeah.
That could create problems for us in the future. So we think that okay, we have been told this. This is, I think, can be a little better. Or I can add to this some value. Let me just text to somebody who has told me to do this. I think I'm going to do like this. Just wanted to let you know. So most probably they'll send you a pranam emoji from there, and you don't have to think anymore that this is real surrender. So there's a system, there's some protocol. Everything is arranged such a way that it is helpful for us. Is that helpful?
Yes.
All right. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.